Hey everyone, welcome back to the Yoga Podcast. My name is David.
And I'm Kyle.
Kyle, how you doing today?
Not too bad. It's a Friday, right? And doing some hobbies on the side with you, which is always good. It's a nice way to end the day. So yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. It's been a long work week. I'm glad that we've kind of gotten to the end of it. And honestly, I could really use some yoga today. So it feels really good to be kicking off a brand new season with you. And I think you have a great theme in mind for us, for me today, for sure. And that's new beginnings. And today's class is all about something that most of us rush right past, which is the pause. So, before we dive into class and everything, I'd love to hear from you and what inspired the season with this theme, the power of the pause.
Yeah, and honestly, it came out of my own life, and that's kind of how things I think come up inside of the space, inside of the classes. Is we speak from experience and we speak from a place that resonates with us, so that it feels authentic when we're in class. But I just hit a stretch where everything felt like I was moving faster than I could really hold on to, or I could track, and I just felt myself continuing to just push through things. And when I finally slowed down and realized how much clarity was really hiding in that space that I wasn't giving myself, I realized that moment of pause to just step back was going to be really important for my physical and mental well-being. And our nervous systems really need those breaks. They need it to regulate, and they need it to reset and let us step from that place of reacting to responding. So I'm really kind of speaking from this personal experience in today's class.
I love that. As a yoga teacher, I feel like the best themes that we think of for our classes a lot of the times come from living life and having the human experience and then applying that into our classes and our sequences. So from sequencing,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I was gonna add, in addition to that, I think that sometimes we're almost teaching ourselves in the space too. We're kind of teaching from that place of a reminder of to ourselves.
100%, kind of embodying that student mentality, even as we're in the position of a teacher.
Yeah, absolutely.
From a sequencing standpoint, what should we expect as we're moving through practice today?
Yeah, so today's class was really designed more about the flow and the transitions and the really deliberate pacing, and less from that kind of big shapes and hitting the posture just right or anything like that. And so from a sequencing standpoint in this class, I really do encourage y'all to slow down, to notice what happens in the body, what happens to your breath, and just become very aware, right? And just observe, without judgment, of course, but and just check in, with some of those tendencies that you have in those moments of pause and those moments of stillness, and know that that's just it's all information for us.
I love that. Personally, when I move through yoga practice, sometimes I'm thinking of hitting that next pose, crescent lunge to warrior two, rather than kind of like being in that moment of that transition. So I'm really excited to lean into those moments, those pauses, those transitions a little bit more today.
Yeah, sweet.
Why do you think this type of class will be important at the start of a season on new beginnings?
Yeah, I don't think you can actually, begin anything without first having a pause. I think about like an airplane before it takes off. It pulls up to the runway, and what does it do? You pause. So, and that pause, for us, I think creates truth, and that truth creates sustainability. And, I don't think we can have sustainable change without that moment of clarity, that moment of pause to really reflect on the purpose and where you're at. And so I think that as we move into a new season, we took this time to pause. I took this time to pause. I brought you into the picture here. And, I really believe that this is the, really good way forward. And so, it brings everything together so nicely, what was happening in my personal life and then where I wanted to take this podcast.
That's beautiful. I love that analogy of an airplane pausing before it takes off. That's something I'll for sure be keeping in mind, not just in my life, but in my teaching as well. I'll be stealing that idea from you, as I like to steal ideas from you.
It's all yours to use.
And I think you touched on it in that last spiel, but is there anything else you want listeners to hold in mind before we roll out our mats here today and practice with you?
I just say stay curious, right? Don't try to get it all right, and just notice what shows up in that pause. Check in. Is it impatience? Is it resistance? Do you collapse into it? Is it softness? So yeah, just stay curious and stay aware.
Curiosity. Got it.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, well, I'm going to take Kyle's class, and we'll be back after Shavasana for a quick off-the-mat chat to explore how we can take yoga off the mat and into our everyday lives with us. So whenever you're ready, let's move into practice.
All right, let's begin today's class in extended child's pose. So go ahead and bring your knees wide on the mat, your big toes to touch behind you. And as you rest your hips back towards your heels, allow your forehead to rest onto the earth and walk your hands out long in front of you. And take a few moments here to just check in with the body, check in with your breath. You might start by just noticing any areas of tightness or tension, of course, injury, any of those areas of the body that might require a little extra attention. And then as you expand your awareness into the breath, again, just begin to notice. Notice the natural and easy rhythm of the breath as it moves in and out. And then start to notice the subtle pauses between each breath in and each breath out. Right before every beginning, there's a pause, a breath, a moment of awareness, and that's where clarity lives. So let's start by noticing that gentle space between each inhale and exhale. So on your next inhale, come on forward into tabletop pose, stacking your shoulders over your wrists and your hips over your knees. And let's move through a few rounds of cat and cow pose. So on your next inhale, drop your belly, lift your chin, look up, and just take a few breaths here. Right? You're going to pull back slightly with your hands to lift your heart and your chin. And then as you exhale, round your spine, push away from the earth, and let your head and neck relax. And just a few breaths here, feeling the breath as it moves through the back line of the body. And now with your breath, inhale, cow pose. So drop your belly, lift your chin, look up, and exhale, cat stretch round and push away from the earth. And go ahead and move through just a few of these with your own breath and see if you can notice or bring a little bit of awareness into those subtle pauses in between the inhales and the exhales. And then as you're ready, come on back to that tabletop pose and step back to high plank, high push-up position. And take a full, slow, deep breath in. And then as you exhale, downward facing dog. Lift your hips and then take a few moments there. Pedal up the feet, maybe bend one knee and then the other. And then settle into stillness and pause. Spread your fingers very wide, middle fingers parallel with one another. And as you press into the earth to lift your hips, relax your head and neck and draw your chest back towards your knees. And a gentle bend to the knees, always okay here, but heels drawing towards the earth. Hold here and take a full exhale, so push out all the air. Good, now take a full, slow, deep breath in and a full breath out. Good. Inhale, come forward, high plank pose. Exhale, drop to your knees, tabletop. Inhale, cow pose. Drop your belly, lift your chin, look up. Exhale, cat. Round your spine, push away from the earth. Inhale, come to a neutral spine, a flat back. And exhale to downward facing dog. Good. One more time through. Inhale, high plank pose. Exhale, tabletop. Inhale, cow pose. Drop your belly, lift your chin, look up. Exhale, cat, round and push away from the earth. Inhale, neutral spine, flat back. And exhale, downward facing dog. Good. Take a few breaths here. I take a moment to pause. And sometimes we tend to rush towards what's next. We're going to move through that just one more time and see if you can honor the transitions, right? The pauses between the shapes, the stillness before the effort. So start by releasing all air. Good. Inhale, high plank pose. Exhale, tabletop. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat. Inhale, neutral spine, flat back. And exhale, downward facing dog. Good. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. Inhale, lift your right leg high. And exhale, step through into a low lunge. And as you step your foot forward, make sure the knee is stacked over the ankle, back leg fully extended. And then hold for just a moment, right? And notice how it feels to arrive before moving. Right? That space is preparation, and that preparation is very powerful. So ground down through the feet and inhale, crescent lunge. Come all the way up. Keep that bend in your front knee and the back leg extended. Good. Exhale to warrior two. So spin your back heel down, face aside, and reach through your arms. Good. Settle in here. You might straighten and rebend the front knee a couple of times. And then again, settle into your warrior two. Hold here for a few breaths. Just feel your feet rooted into the ground. Take a full breath in and exhale, extended side angle. So reach your right hand forward and then right hand down, left arm high. Take a moment to pause for a few breaths. And notice if you can stay present without needing to change anything at all. Just become aware of the sensation in your body. Stay aware of your breath. And just notice how you feel. On your next inhale, reverse warrior. Keep a deep bend in your front knee. Right arm reaches up and then back. And exhale, low lunge. Cartwheel your arms to the top of the mat. Inhale, right leg high, three-legged downward facing dog. Good. Exhale, downward facing dog. We'll switch sides. Inhale, left leg high. Exhale, step into a low lunge. Again, knee over ankle, back leg fully extended. Take a moment to pause. And that space of preparation, again, is very powerful. Ground down through the feet. That's your foundation, your strength. And inhale, crescent lunge. Face forward. Come to stand, arms overhead. See if you can keep that gentle bend in the front knee. Beautiful. Take a full breath in. Exhale, warrior two. So spin your back heel down, open to the side, and reach through your arms. Take a moment. Bend and straighten the front knee a few times. Kind of ease into the hips. And then when you're ready, settle in. Find your lunge, soft shoulders, gaze forward. And then can you pause? Can you feel the strength in that pause? Can you feel the stillness? right? And stillness and pause, not stagnation, but a gathering of potential. Inhale and exhale extended side angle. So reach your left hand forward and then down, right arm high. Hold here. And see if you can stay present, again, just as you did on the opposite side, without needing to change anything at all. Breathe. Inhale, reverse warrior. Keep a deep bend in your knee. Lift your left arm up and then back. And as you exhale, low lunge. Cartwheel your arms to the top of the mat. Inhale, left leg high. Exhale, downward facing dog. Good. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. We're going to move through that sequence one more time. This time, matching breath to movement. Inhale, right leg high. Exhale, step through, low lunge. Inhale, crescent lunge. Exhale, warrior two. Take a full breath in. Exhale, extended side angle. Inhale, reverse warrior. Keep a bend in the knee, reach up and back. Exhale, low lunge. Inhale, right leg high. Exhale, downward facing dog. Nice work. We'll switch sides. Inhale, lift your left leg high. And exhale, step through into a low lunge. Prepare and inhale, crescent lunge. Exhale, warrior two. Take a breath in. Exhale, extended side angle, reach forward and down. Inhale, reverse warrior, keep a bend in the knee. Exhale, low lunge. Inhale, left leg high. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. Good. One more time. Inhale. And full exhale. Let it go. On your next inhale, gaze forward. Exhale, walk your feet to the top of the mat. Inhale, chair pose, bend your knees and reach up. And exhale, hands right to your heart. Good. And take a moment here to pause. Right, with your hands at your heart, just breathe. And breathe just to notice, to observe the breath. The sensation in your body, and how you feel in this moment. You are exactly where you need to be and exactly how you need to be. Take a breath in, find some length in your spine, and exhale, prayer twist. Hook your left elbow outside of your right knee. Now check in with the knees for just a moment. Make sure that they're even with one another. Sometimes here the right leg starts to draw back a little bit, and that motion starts in the hip. So if you notice the right knee drawing back a little bit, you'll think right hip forward, left hip back, and that should level out the knees. And then press your palms together, right? Left into right, right into left, as you draw your thumbs towards your sternum and your right shoulder up and over the left. If you'd like to complete the twist, gaze up and over the right shoulder. Now with each inhale, find a little bit of length. And as you exhale, a little bit of depth as you soften into the space that you created with the inhale. Take a breath in and exhale, fold forward. Nice work. Padangusthasana. Go ahead and separate your feet about hip width distance apart. So that's about 2 fists in between your feet. And then with your 2 peace fingers, so your index finger and your middle finger, go ahead and grab a hold of the big toes. Go ahead, take a breath in and exhale, fold forward. So draw your forehead towards your shins as you lift your hips. And just use the strength of your arms to fold yourself forward. And then can you pause? Just to notice just to observe, just to be exactly where you are. Now go ahead and release the gripping of the toes and bring your feet back together to touch. Inhale, chair pose. Bend your knees, sink your hips, and reach your arms overhead. Take a breath in, and exhale, hands to heart. Same thing here. Take a moment. If you're comfortable doing so, close your eyes and just breathe. Breathe just to notice, to just observe, to feel sensation in your body, and how you feel in this moment. Take a breath in, find some length in your spine, and exhale, prayer twist. Hook your right elbow outside of your left knee, and then press your palms together. Right, draw your thumbs towards your sternum. And if you'd like to complete the twist in the neck, look over the left shoulder. Breathe in and find some length. And then breathe out, find some depth in the twist. Continue to breathe. We're here for just 3. Finding a forward fold in 2 and 1. Fold all the way forward. Good. Take a inhale, find a halfway lift. And exhale, plant your palms, step back, high plank pose. Go ahead and drop down to your knees as we prepare for camel pose. So come to stand on your knees, and then bring your hands to your low back, kind of like you're tucking them into jean pockets. And as you push your hips down and forward, look up, and then lift your chest and find a back bend. So think about if there was a cord tied right to the sternum and that's lifting straight up towards the ceiling. Now, if your hips stay stacked over your knees, you might reach back for your heels, finding the full variation. But again, wherever you are, it's exactly where you're meant to be, and it's perfect at this moment. Take a few breaths in this heart opener. We're here for 3. And just have a seat in 2 and 1. Have a seat. Rest your hands on your thighs. And if you'd like, close your eyes just to take a few breaths. Sometimes a pause is about recovery. Sometimes pause is gathering energy. And sometimes it's a moment to just reflect. All right, from here we're going to move into a traditional child's pose. Right, a nice back bend is often accompanied by a nice forward fold. So with your knees together, right, and ankles, big toes, right, you're going to keep the legs together the best you can. Just fold forward over your legs, and that nice rounding through the spine. And in traditional child's pose, you might reach your hands back towards your feet. Good, and then just breathe. And now slowly back roll up your spine, 1 vertebra at a time. So let the crown of the head be the last to lift. And then shift your hips off to the side. Spin your feet around in front of you. And come to lie all the way down on your back. Once you're there, bring the soles of your feet to the mat. Let your fingertips touch your heels. We're going to move into a reclined pigeon pose. So go ahead and bring your right ankle to your left knee. And then draw both legs in towards your chest. Then your right hand reaches between that space of your legs. And left hand interlaces fingers behind your thigh or over top of your shin. And as you rest here for a few breaths, do your very best to prioritize the entire back line resting onto the mat, including the shoulder blades and the back of your head. And just a few breaths. And then left foot to the mat, followed by the right. And we'll switch sides. So now bring your left ankle to your right knee. Draw both legs in towards your chest. This time the left hand reaches between the space of your legs, and then interlace all 10 fingers either behind the thigh or over top of the shin. Low back, mid-back, upper back, all working towards resting on the earth. And the back of your head with a gentle tuck of your chin. And just feel the sensations. Notice how you feel. Still while maintaining that awareness of the breath. All right foot to the earth, followed by the left. And then we'll wrap up our practice here with a gentle twist. So go ahead and bring both knees into your chest. Just give them a little squeeze. And then reach your arms out to the sides. And just drop your knees to the left. Let your chin fall to the right. And breathe. So in the pause, we often meet the part of ourselves that doesn't need to perform, right? Or the part of ourselves that doesn't need to achieve. And so allow yourself to just breathe and to just be. Now bring your knees through center and drop them off to the opposite side. So drop your knees to your right, let your chin fall to the left, and soften in. And then now bring your knees back through center. Draw your knees into your chest, a little squeeze, a nice loving hug. Take a full breath in and exhale, release. Get your legs long on the mat, arms next to your sides. And please give yourselves a few moments here to just breathe, to pause, to find some stillness. Like we said at the beginning, every breath begins and ends with a pause. And it's a natural reminder that you can always start again. As you start to close your practice here, remember, you don't have to rush to the next step. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to pause, to listen, and begin again when you're ready. So go ahead and take one final full breath in. Pull it all the way down into your belly. And then open mouth, exhale, release, and find your Shavasana. All right. Well, thank you all for participating in today's practice. As we mentioned before, after each class, David and I will have a brief conversation, around the experience and kind of discuss a little bit about how we can take these principles and these lessons from our practice and bring them with us off the mat. So that said, David, you took class today, right? And you just finished up, I know. But when you were in those intentional pauses, what kind of things came up for you?
Yeah, Kyle. And first off, thank you so much for class today. It came at a very timely moment as I had a little stressful moments in the workday, and it was nice to kind of sneak away and practice yoga and really focus on the pause. But the funny thing is, when I found myself in those pauses, I found myself wanting to move on. And I think that's just kind of a big part of who I am as a person. I don't necessarily idle well. So when you were really setting up those strong foundations, I found myself wanting to go into the next pose.
Yeah.
But settling in and setting up those foundations ultimately led to a better experience in the pose.
Yeah. How so? Say a little bit more about that. How do you feel like that moment of stillness set you up for the next part?
I think it all comes down to intentionality. I think of when you put us in a low lunge and you really cued, stack your knee over your ankle, active through your back leg, lift the back of your knee to the ceiling before moving into crescent lunge, it set up that stronger foundation. And our poses are built from the ground up. So by having that strong foundation, by taking that moment to pause, it allowed me to be much more expansive in the pose.
Yeah, I like that. It's kind of like, you wouldn't rush building the foundation of a house, right? You really want to take your
Totally.
time there and make sure everything is solid before you put up the walls and the roof and all that stuff. So yeah, thanks for that. So in your own life, David, where do you notice the same pattern? I mean, do you notice this, off of the mat as well, that urge to kind of move forward?
I do. One thing that we know is that no matter what we do, life is always going to throw challenges at us.
Always.
And I think a good thing about myself, but also sometimes it has its cons, is I like to take action. I'm the type of person, when something happens, I like to move forward on the solution. And a lot of the times the best solution is to just pause and wait until the direction, the solution, and the path you want to go becomes a little bit more clear.
Yeah. I even noticed that as we were, talking, a while back when I came to visit about starting this podcast, right? And I was like, hey, you want to do this? And you're like, yeah, let's start recording tomorrow. And, I also rush towards action, I think, but I move at a little bit slower pace and, want to make sure everything's kind of right and in order and in line and things like that first. So
I think that's a perfect example where there's pros to it, and then there's like, okay, maybe let's take a breath here, slow down, let's set the foundation before moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think to your point, there's pros and cons. It's just that idea that every strength overused can become a weakness, right? So if we're always moving towards action and never taking that pause, I think that can be detrimental. If we're always pausing and never taking action, that can also be detrimental. So I think to your point, it can work both ways.
Yeah. Well said.
So from a more practical standpoint, right? We're taking this off of the mat. Most people, I think, don't really struggle with the idea of pausing or slowing down. And I think in most, it can sound like a great idea, but actually putting that into action, right, I think is where people might struggle a little bit. Where do you think someone could realistically introduce just small pauses in their day without really having it feel forced or, unrealistic?
Totally. I don't think it needs to be this big, like, life-altering initiative. I think subtle things are what's going to make this most effective. And, subtle transitions through life of, pausing before you get out of bed, getting in your car, opening your laptop, or, before hitting send when you're sending a text, sending an email, or anything like that. Just those subtle transitions through life, or the micro moments of waiting for coffee to brew, waiting at a stoplight, waiting for something to load on your phone or your computer, something like that.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting you bring up the phone, though. I think that's almost less of a pause than I think that we think it is.
Totally.
I think that we often kind of move to that to distract ourselves and kind of keep our minds busy. But I think in an intentional pause, maybe we just look around and observe and see what's going on around us too. So,
yeah, absolutely.
But, yes, all of course depending on the situation. So, but I think what you mentioned and what I think is really important is that the pause doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be this big thing. Yeah, I took quite a bit of time off from producing pod classes. Took some time off of yoga, but that I think needed to be a little bit more dramatic. But it doesn't always have to be that way. To your point, it can be a few breaths at a stoplight, right? It could be while you're at the grocery store. And I think sometimes before you hit that send button, it's a good thing too, right? I had to do that today, actually. I wrote up an email that I was probably a little bit more reactive than I should have been. And I took a few breaths and I just saved it, and I'll revisit it on Monday. So yeah, if you had to give the listeners one grounded invitation for the week, something they could actually follow through on, what would it be?
Yeah, I think you kind of said it right there. And to boil it down into like a little mantra for the week would be breathe first. The breath and that pause is so much more powerful than we think. And you actually mentioned this before class. You spoke to the nervous system a little bit, and it reminded me of, I had a therapist tell me this once, where pausing and breathing It allows your brain more time to process the situation. And a lot of the times, information is first processed by our amygdala. There's the area where we detect threats, the stress, and the fear side of things. And a lot of times that warrants that emotional response. But when we pause, and we give ourselves more time, when we breathe first, it allows us to get more into the prefrontal cortex where there's more logic, the decision making, the planning, and the reflecting. So by giving yourself that breath, that pause, it allows us to allows our brain to kind of shift gears and become a little bit more logical in the way we react to things.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I like that you said that because you know how much I love Sean Corn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think in her book, she talks about a lesson that she learned early on from one of her yoga teachers. And one of her yoga teachers told her, breathe and everything changes. And I really like that. And she used that mantra, and she used those same kind of, principles to, help her through things like obsessive compulsive disorder. And, yeah, sometimes all we need is a few breaths in order to really change the direction of our day and how we're thinking and how we're feeling. So thanks for that. Well, thank you everyone for listening, practicing, and joining us on this journey of the yoga pod class. I'm really excited for what's to come, and I hope you are too. Our next class will be taught by David, and it'll be a more easeful class, focusing on transitions and those moments between change, the moments between the peaks and the poses, that reflects and gives us insight into those similar moments in our own lives. And we'd love to hear from you. How did the pauses feel in your practice? Or perhaps share where you take intentional pauses in your day-to-day life. Leave a comment. I promise you, David and I read each and every one. Take good care, everyone, and thanks for being here.